Hello folks and welcome back to the channel. May I wish you a happy new year. We're almost at the end of what has been simply an incredible year for VR and flight simulation. And in this video I'm going to compare the Somnium VR1 to the Pimax Crystal. Now I do have a more in-depth video about my trip to Prague to meet Arta, the CEO of Somnium Space, and give you all of the nitty-gritty about the pass-through, the clarity, any issues that I've found, all that good stuff. But in this video I'm just going to go through simply the major points of both headsets and how they sort of translate to a flight simulation experience. So in terms of the specifications of the visuals, they're both very similar. That is, they have a 2880 by 2880 resolution with a QLED panel. Although there is some differences, particularly with the aspheric lenses, the Somnium VR1 has dual aspheric lenses, which means it has a much wider field of view. So if that's important to you, I mean, it'll have to be really high on the list of priorities considering it's a lot more money. That definitely makes a difference. I measured, in fact, actually at the widest point, 124 degrees. Whether the Pimax Crystal is more around 102 degrees. That definitely makes a difference. But for me personally, that is not a major factor. And when I, purchase a VR headset for myself, it's mainly that visual quality. And for that, both really excel. In terms of the optics, well, I do feel the Somnium VR1 has a much wider eye box or sweet spot, particularly in the vertical axis. While the Pimax Crystal tends to suffer from a geometric sweet spot, which, once you're in it is absolutely fine, but it's not as wide as the VR1. So in terms of comfort, at the moment, I have to say that the honours go to the Pimax Crystal. I find that a much more comfortable headset. But bear in mind the VR1 is still a prototype, and the strap that I used was just not big enough for my head, which meant that the headset just felt very front heavy. I'm hoping they're going to be able to change this before the final release version. In terms of chromatic aberration, while they definitely both suffer from it, I do feel the VR1 suffered more with chromatic aberration, but again, that is due to the lenses not being finalised and they don't have the necessary coatings, which is a great shame. Now the Somnium VR1 is unapologetically a PC VR headset. I love that. It knows what it wants to be, unlike the Pimax Crystal, which kind of has a little bit of a personality disorder in my opinion, because it wants to be a standalone headset as well as the high-end PC VR stuff as well. That means that you do need a battery for the Pimax Crystal, but again I must say with the Pimax Hub it's not really an issue anymore. In fact, just yesterday I was flying for 3.5 hours and I still had 2 bars remaining, which would give me another 2 hours at least before even thinking about changing a battery. However, I still think it's a bit of a niggle that needs mentioning, especially when the Somnium VR1, well, you can fly in it all day long if you want to and it'll never be a problem. So really, one of the major points about the Somnium VR1 is the fact that it has a high quality pass-through, and I will be talking about that in more depth in my sort of main video, which will be out, by the way, on the 1st of January. But I will quickly just say that it's just there's no comparison between the black and white pass-through of the Pimax Crystal. If you're looking for that true XR capability, mixed reality, using your cockpit controls with really nice sharp images, the VR1 is absolutely fantastic at that, and I was blown away with the image. But of course you're going to pay a lot more for that one, probably upwards of around €3,000. Which is a good point actually to talk about the price, because the VR1 is going to be sort of baselining. That is the VR headset only with no eye tracking, no pass-through. It's going to be around €1,900, and that is before VAT, I believe, and local taxes. So it's substantially more money than the Pimax Crystal. I think it's also worth mentioning that Somnium Space are going to crazy lengths to ensure that the headsets ship with no dead pixels and the quality control generally is going to be a lot higher. But when it's all said and done, my Pimax Crystal that I've got has been absolutely flawless, I must say. It's been great. I use it as my daily driver, and it's currently my favourite VR headset for flight simming. It does actually show you how much of a good deal the Pimax Crystal is when you consider that it also has inside-out tracking, so you don't need base stations. With the VR1, you're going to need to buy at least probably 2 base stations, so factor that in to the price. Also, of course, the Pimax Crystal has eye tracking as standard, whether the VR1 will have that as an option. So it's getting a bit salty when it comes to the price, and I must say it is very expensive for what it is. I think it's really for a niche of prosumer VR users that really want a combination of the very best build quality with true mixed reality capability that is sharp enough to be able to read instruments. Perhaps you've got a knee board on your leg so you can look at your charts and frequencies. You can look at your phone, your surrounding areas in very, very sharp detail. And that impressed me very much, even in low light conditions. Perhaps you want the widest field of view you can possibly get with the spheric lenses. And that open modular design where you can 3D print parts yourself, and you can get into those sensors without any limitations as well from the manufacturer, which I think is a really cool sort of offer from Somnium Space. Also, it's worth mentioning that the software, well, again, I can't really say too much because I didn't try it, but it looks like we're going to get tons and tons of options, which is always good for flight simmers, as you know. But I will say that the Pimax Crystal software is actually quite good as well. Things like the OpenXR runtime, that is supported, as well as motion reprojection, so that's a dead heat there. But until I try these things out in my own man cave, as it were, I can't really say for sure whether they would be better than the Pimax Crystal. So in a nutshell, I actually feel that the Pimax Crystal is much better value for money. And with the clarity, which is very, very similar, I think the only thing the VR1 does better is that wider field of view. And of course, the optics just feel a bit better in terms of the sweet spot. They kind of feel like a version 2 aspheric lens, and I even prefer them to the VRFSG, which you can see here in this video right now. However, I do actually, before I forget, feel that the VR1 is harder to run because of that wider field of view. The resolution is much higher for your GPU. It's somewhere around 6000, which is crazy high. It's already very, very high with the Pimax Crystal, and with the eye tracking, which is still working at the moment with the OpenXR toolkit, if you reduce it to about 3500 by 4000 and something, it is actually very, very stable at 45 frames per second in MSFS. Overall, as I say, I think the VR1 is a fantastic VR headset, and I'm looking forward to going in depth with my first impressions in the next video, but I just had to get this one out because I do feel it's important to realize what Pimax has done here with the Crystal. But I do realize that many of you have had issues with yours. I really would love to know at this point from Crystal owners in the comments below, how have you been finding that headset? Have you had any problems? Because I do feel that Somnium Space is probably a sure bet when it comes to ensuring that the headset is going to arrive with no issues. Their quality control is absolutely mind-blowing, it has to be said, with them checking every single screen twice before they ship them out. I just find that kind of thing pretty amazing, and you are paying that extra for that kind of service. And then of course there's a VRFSG. Please let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to do a comparison to that headset. But those are my thoughts for now. I do feel that for most people the Pimax Crystal makes the most sense, and especially because of the issues with the Reverb G2, which I may do a separate video on that, but of course Windows Mixed Reality is going to be a thing of the past soon. It's almost like the Crystal has become that Reverb G2 replacement for many people. I haven't even mentioned actually the fact that the Crystal comes with really good audio. The VR1 doesn't come with any audio solution that I'm aware of at the moment. So yeah, I do feel the Crystal makes the most sense for most people, but if you really want the crazy high end, the absolute PC VR headset to rule them all, especially with that incredible high resolution pass-through, then it definitely is the Somnium VR1. And I can't wait to eventually have the headset here so I can really delve into the settings, get to know the headset a lot more once it's been finalized. I know there's many people out there that want me to try the Vario XR4, which has also been released. There's just so much going on at the moment, guys. I can't comment on that until I have it in my hands. Hopefully Vario will be able to send out a loaner in the not so distant future. That'll be probably early next year. One other thing I want to mention, and that is I know a lot of YouTubers are complaining about distortions with the Somnium VR1. I genuinely did not notice them. Now, I don't know why, because for me, the Quest 3 has way more warping and distortion than the VR1. So perhaps it's because I'm just a fan of aspheric lenses. I'm so used to them. I've been using them for years now. It is true that your brain can adapt to some of the warping. I don't know whether that's what's happened here. I really don't know, but I can only tell you my honest impressions of what I found out about the headset. You know, the two major factors for me that were negatives were the comfort. I do feel the headset is way too front heavy at the moment, and there is quite a lot of chromatic aberration. But in terms of the image, I thought it was absolutely beautiful, phenomenal even, really, and I can't wait to see how it compares to perhaps the XR4, which I'll be able to showcase soon. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I truly appreciate it. Please feel free to subscribe. Happy New Year to you all. I'll see you again very soon. Bye bye for now.